Did you know that the best place to view the project is through the website theythemproject.org? It's the only place you can see all the photos, videos, and podcast interviews and easily share the project to help it be seen and make a difference. In addition to the website, They Them Project is everywhere. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or Google Play. Remember, the project grows and informs only when it is shared by people like you. Go to theythemproject.org and share what you see and hear. Hello, my name is Brent Dundor. I'm a full-time photographer, activist, and ally, and the proud producer of the They Them Project. They Them Project interviews non-binary individuals, offering a platform for them to be seen and heard while informing and educating everyone on how words and actions affect the trans plus community.
Hi, my name is Xochi de la Luna, and I use ni, they, and them pronouns.
Hi, Xochi. Thank you for being here. Would there ever be a time that you would be upset if someone asked you what pronouns you use?
Absolutely not. I think it's a great question to begin knowing somebody.
Are there specific times or places that you would use certain pronouns?
Yes. For the most part, I use they, them pronouns with everyone. I'm not shy about being non-binary. But with my close friends, I do prefer ni, them, because that's what I truly see myself as.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest, I chose not to research ni, them, and I wanted to ask you about it in this interview on the podcast. So can you tell me what ni, them means to you and what other people should understand about ni, them?
Well, I've only known a couple other people with the pronouns ni, them, but when I heard them out loud, I knew that I was one of them. And that's because to me, ni embodies the term neutral a lot more than they. And even though it's a little more difficult to use in sentences, I think that it fits me, and so that's how I get close to people.
Can you explain what the connection is between ni, them versus they, them?
Well, non-binary is such a big umbrella term, and to me, they, them is like the catch-all umbrella term for people who are non-binary. So yes, I feel like I am a they, but ni seems more to be my thing because I truly feel agender. I feel not a strong pull from masc or femme, even though I can present as either.
Do you know other people who use ni, them?
I don't know any people like personally that use ni, them. I've met people in passing.
And what's the difference between ni, them and z or other pronouns?
I feel like there is a lot of similarities between z, spelled X or Z, but I feel like ni for me just felt more organic because it's kind of in the word neutral anyway.
What pronouns should I use while you're here today?
Either,
Okay.
honestly.
All right. Do you ever accept other pronouns? Do you ever use other pronouns?
No. I'm at a point in my life where I only use they, them to present myself, even if it's somebody who I feel like won't even know what they, them is. I will have the conversation with them. But past is the time where I would blow up on people for assuming that I am a man or even a woman.
How much responsibility do you feel should be placed on others to ask you your pronouns or for you to tell others what pronouns you use?
That's a complicated question. But as of recently, I feel like it's very much a 50-50 thing. It's like you got to meet halfway. I feel like it's a responsibility of both parties.
Are there certain places where that might change?
Yeah, I feel like if I were to go and grab a tea from a coffee shop, or if I were to go to the bank or whatever, I don't think that it's fair to assume that they would understand that I am a they or ni.
So if you go into the bank, has there ever been a time where someone asks you what pronouns you use?
Not yet.
Okay. And going to a coffee shop, has anyone done that there?
Yeah, I think it was the overall clear vibes I was putting off that day because when I'm extra depressed, I usually dress up extra um, glamorous.
The reason that I'm trying to get you to elaborate with the coffee shop or the bank example is I want people to really put themselves into a situation that they can that they know that they do every day, and to understand what it means to you if someone does ask you what your pronouns are in those situations.
Well, there has been situations like I go to the DMV and then someone who's there at the DMV might mistake me for a woman and they'll apologize and ask me like, wait a second, do you identify as a woman or a man? And I tell them neither, and we have a conversation about it, and it's really nice.
How long have you used they, them, and they, them pronouns?
I've used me, them, and they, them pronouns for 2 years now.
Was it that you started using both at the same time, or you started with they, them, and how long in between, if there was a period in between that?
Well, I started using all those pronouns at the same time, but I did start off identifying as gender fluid, and I would use he, him, they, them, she, hers, because like any given day, I could feel like any of them. And even though he, his, and she, hers didn't feel right, I figured like if somebody were to call me she, because I was wearing heels and a dress, that would be fine. And if I was looking rather butch and somebody referred me to he, him, it'd be fair. But, you know, as time went by, it really wore on me because it's not how I feel about myself, and it never really has been. And when I finally met somebody who was agender and got to hang out with them for a day, which is actually, it was a date, I thought they were really cool, and I felt really close. Like I felt like we were like related, you know, in a way, like this kinship.
Tell me what it means to be agender.
To me, agender is a rejection of the binary. It's to clearly state that the binary is a construct, and that even the new binary that some people have created with femme and masc is not necessarily something that's wanted by all non-binary people, because even then, it's still a binary. And humans are very dynamic people. And even if you are very masculine, he, him, you might have days where you don't necessarily feel that way and don't necessarily present that way. And maybe you're not thinking about that like internally, like in your head, but like externally, you're very much showing that.
So touch on a little bit more where that becomes what you connect with rather than they, them. So do you feel that like there's times where they, them just does not work?
I feel like, yeah, that's why I choose Ninem instead of they, them, because they, them is the like I said, the umbrella, the like general non-binary person. And I'm agender. I don't feel one way or another 90% of the time when it comes to my presentation and where I'm at. I feel very center, if we're still using those terminologies.
I like that. I've never heard someone say center of center. In what ways do people challenge your gender, and how does that make you feel?
I suppose going back to that example about the lady being like, hey, you have beautiful hair, miss. People will assume that I am a woman because from behind I have this long colored hair, and I don't think that a lot of people in like cis hetero society are necessarily thinking that men enjoy dyeing their hair, or that this is a dated term, but assigned male at birth, as they would see me. And it's funny when that happens. It's kind of a delight because that just proves that I can present androgynous, especially with the way I dress. But I feel like I'm not necessarily going for androgyny, but it's nice to be seen as androgynous.
You said that assigned a certain sex at birth is a dated term. Tell me more about that. I haven't heard that before either.
Well, I feel like AMAB and AFAB doesn't necessarily capture everything because there are intersex people too, and that even then, like that's a term that somebody in the scientific medical field put on you, and I don't really know the answer to what's forward, but I feel like we need to start having more conversations about gender. We need to start having more conversations about even the places where we're at now with the dialect that we use on it, like masc and femme. Like I said earlier, it doesn't seem to be the most effective.
When do you think it was that you first started thinking about your gender? And can you tell me maybe what led up to that and what has led to now?
I feel like I kind of repressed these memories, but thinking more on it and running into these people from the past kind of like sparks the memories in my head. And honestly, it was high school. High school is when I first met the first trans person that ironically uses the name that I was assigned at, and the name that my mother had given me. So that was an interesting time in high school, is knowing this trans friend and knowing that they went by the same name I did. But that's when I started kind of questioning, like, what does that mean? What is trans? And then I have another friend who, right out of high school, started becoming involved in the drag scene. And I felt like they started embodying more of this like otherworldly alien look in and out of drag. And I found that so familiar.
Tell me more about Xochi and what that means to you.
Well, Xochi is actually a rather new evolution of my name. I think it's not older than a year or so. Before that, I was going by the name my mother had given me, plus a last name that I had chosen for myself. The name my mother had given me was Oscar Menjivar, and that's my legal name. So as time went on, I kept Oscar, but I just didn't know what else I could be called. I didn't even think that I could be called anything else. But as time went on, I started getting frustrated by how people would gender me based on me telling them my name was Oscar. And I really do like the name Oscar, but I feel like it didn't fit how I felt about myself.
So you brought up the name that, as you were stating, your mother gave you at birth. And because you brought that up, I do want to touch on that a little bit. So there are people who I interview who definitely do not want to state their name that their parents gave, or what some people would call birth name. So are you comfortable with that?
I mean, that's a part of my history. That was me for a quarter of my life. And even though I don't want people to put those words in their mouth, I can say them because that was me. You know, I was Oscar and I still am Oscar, but really my true form is Xochi.
Maybe this is a weird question and I'm going to find out that I shouldn't even ask it, but do you feel as much of a connection to the pronouns that you use as you do to Xochi? Do you think that your name and your pronouns have a direct correlation? Do you think they're separate? How do you explain that?
I feel like there is a lot of correlation for me personally between my name and my pronouns. I feel like Xochi is a very gender neutral name. And thus why I decided to go with me and them pronouns. I did consider Z for a while with an X because of the name Xochi, because it starts with an X. But in the end, I didn't feel like that was quite me. But sometimes I do use Zo, XO, as like a sign off or like a nickname that people can call me. And I feel like they could be used as pronouns too. Because in the end, it's not the pronouns that matter to me. It's that people see me for who I am. It's my identity, my personality, my being that I'm really trying to encompass with these pronouns in this name.
You touched a bit on Latin culture, and I want you to explain. I think the words that you used were neuter. Literally, I think that's the word you used.
Yeah, there's no neuter, which I found akin to the word neutral. There's no neutral term in Spanish. I mean, I've researched this for a while, and I haven't found anything that's gender neutral. So I think me and other Latinx people have started putting X's instead of the A's and O's and things. Like amigos and amigas would be amigs.
So in Spanish, there's masculine and feminine, feminine endings to words.
Yes.
And that becomes an issue, especially for people who are agender or non-binary, because you can't really describe yourself using certain words, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the answer to that is the X, the Latinx. Do you find that is used much? Is it only in Latin culture where it is used? Do other people use that for you who maybe don't have a Latin background?
I feel like Latinx is a thing that's more widely accepted now to refer to Latino and Latina people, because it's an all-encompassing gender-neutral term. And that way you don't put people in a binary when you're referring to them, unless they, of course, want to do that themselves.
Do you feel race plays into gender identity and acceptance of someone's gender?
I can't speak for other cultures. I mean, I have an idea, right? But I shouldn't speak on it. But in Latinx culture, from my experience, I feel like gender feels are kind of seen as a joke, at least in my family and my family's friends. They are like, it's difficult for them to grasp the concept, especially because there's not a lot of language for it. Like I was saying with the non-neuter terms, and so I've tried many different ways to explain to my mom about my identity. Like, look, Mom, I'm not a man or a woman. Like I've drawn actual pictographs for my mom, like symbols. I was like, this is what the symbol for man is, and this is a symbol for woman. Well, here's a symbol for agender or non-binary, and my mom still doesn't understand, and she just sees it as me playing dress up as a woman for the most part, because I do wear a lot of women's clothing, and it's hard to explain to my mom that they're just pieces of cloth, and that I'm still very much the same person, except that I am rejecting that she and everybody else has seen me as a man for most of my life.
Xochi, I'm starting to highlight active people from the community. When I was looking through your Instagram, I noticed that there's an event that you produce. I think it's called Mother Goose's Bedtime Stories.
Correct.
Can you tell me more about that?
I was like, well, I want to put together a show that has music, comedy, and the entire performance gambit. I'm not talking about just performance art. I'm not talking about just poetry and dance. I'm talking about seeing a one act or an experimental 20-minute set of like visuals and movement in one place. And all of this with a narrative arc. So every month there's a different story, all involving the same character, Mother Goose.
Why Mother Goose?
Well, I grew up watching Mother Goose's like nursery rhymes and reading her stories and whatnot. And I thought it would be entertaining to take that character and make her a trans interdimensional being.
From my understanding, the show highlights specific people or specific types of people. Can you tell me who that is and why?
Well, I mean, I wanted it to be a celebration of LGBTQ people, POC, and women, because I don't feel like there's enough of that in the city. There's more things in the city happening, especially because of beautiful organizations like Patrick's Cabaret and then the defunct Intermedia Arts. But I wanted to give LGBTQ, POC, and women a fantastical atmosphere to present their works so that people were transported into a different place and they were absorbed by the art that they were seeing and wanted to stick around.
Well, tell me more about where Mother Goose's Bedtime Stories is going.
Okay. Yeah. After 6 installments, we're moving the 7th installment to Lush, where it'll be there permanently. And the installment will happen on the 25th of February. It's called The Mirror Palace in the Venus Sky. The premise is an intergalactic talk show that will be hosted by Mother Goose and Mr. Grimm. And they will be interviewing the 12 performers on stage before their performances for this intergalactic talk show that's happening while that show is going on at the same time.
So if people want to see more about you and Mother Goose's Bedtime Stories, where do they find you?
Well, for me personally, you can search Instagram for vulpine.spirit. And that's the page where I'll post photos of my modeling shoots or photos of my comedy gigs or future comedy gigs or performance gigs, because I do performance art. And I also am in a project called La Curandera, which is this experimental like chamber music that I do solo or with a band.
And for Mother Goose's Bedtime Stories?
Mother Goose's Bedtime Stories you can find on the Instagram handle bedtime.goose or the facebook.com/bedtimegoose, or just shoot me an email at bedtime.goose@gmail.com.
What advice do you have for individuals who are questioning their own gender?
I guess from my personal experience in questioning gender is that there really isn't a wrong answer, and it's okay to experiment with gender and presentation and everything else that you're curious about until you find something that really feels like yourself, like your true self. And that might not happen right away or in a year or two, because I think that being trans and being non-binary is like an ever lasting change that you're going through your entire life.
What advice do you have for parents who might have youth who are questioning their gender?
For parents who might have youth that are questioning, I feel like there's a lot of resources online, like the They Them Project's pretty cool for that. But there's also websites upon websites about non-binary people and pronouns and like how to use the pronouns and how it's something that really affects people because people just want to be seen for who they are.
Do you have anything else to say to the community or anyone else listening?
I just want anyone who is struggling with their identity and their gender and their sexuality to know you're not alone and your feelings are valid. And you'll come to understand yourself more and more as time goes by.
They Them Project grows and informs only when it is shared by people like you. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast channels on iTunes and Google Play, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. The best place to view all of the project is theythemproject.org. It is here that you can see all of the photos, videos, and podcast interviews and easily share the project to help it make a difference.